Hello and welcome to lesson number 5 in the Alice tutorial series. Today we're going to be introducing the basics of animating an object. Thus far we've been able to add objects to our Alice world and position them using various tools to create still scenes that are pretty imaginative. But up to this point none of our scenes have moved, everything has been still. We're going to be using the method window, which is this window on the bottom right, this large yellowish window. We're going to be putting bits of code in there to animate our scenes and make them come to life. By no means are we going to be recreating Brave or Tangled or making the next Shrek, but the concepts that you'll learn in doing these basic animations are the same style and the same kind of concept that eventually become those bigger movies. We're going to take objects, put them into the world, and then animate them so that we have a coherent scene, and eventually we'll add sound and music, and even in the future, be able to allow the user to control these objects. So let's go ahead and get started with animating a scene. So I've resized my window here so that you can see it a little bit better, and what we need to do is add an object to this world. Let's click on Add Objects, click on Animals, and I think I'm going to add a chicken. So let's grab a chicken and put the chicken into the world and set it up to where we want our initial scene to take place. So I'm going to make the chicken a little bit bigger, face him away from the screen a little bit, maybe move him to the left-hand side, and there we go. I've got my chicken set up and ready to go. In this window, you'll always see your scene start. We haven't animated anything, so this is where everything is going to begin. When I click play, I've got the chicken, but the chicken's not doing anything. Let's change that. If you click on the chicken object, or the object in the Objects panel in the top left, you'll see there's a lot of different methods that the chicken is capable of completing. Methods are simply a way of saying things the object can do. Move, turn, roll, resize, say, think, play sound. These are all things that the chicken knows how to do. As a programmer, we need to put these into our method window, which is this window on the bottom right, in a certain order to make the chicken act as we want the chicken to act. When the animation starts, I want the chicken to move forward. To make the chicken move, I'm going to find Chicken Move on the method panel here on the left. I'm going to drag it over to my first method, and I'm going to replace Do Nothing with Chicken Move. Once I drag Chicken Move over there, it's going to ask me to provide arguments for the move method. This is information that the method needs in order to run properly. The first argument that I need to provide is the direction. What direction do I want the chicken to move? In this case, I want the chicken to move forward, so I'm going to select forward from the pull-down menu. And next, I'm going to be asked, how far do I want the chicken to move? Let's go ahead and have the chicken move 3 meters, and since that's not on the list, I'm going to click Other, use Enter 3 on the calculator pad, and then hit OK. Now, the chicken will move forward 3 meters when we press play. All Alice code is run from top to bottom. Since this is the only line of code, this is the only thing that will execute. Let's go ahead and click play. When I hit play, the chicken moves across the screen. Now, no secondary animations were done. If I restart this, you'll see the chicken legs aren't moving. But the chicken is doing exactly what we told the chicken to do, to move forward 3 meters. Objects in Alice are said to be egocentric. What that means is the object is always going to move relative to itself, or it's going to perform methods relative to itself. I'm telling the chicken to move forward, so the chicken is moving forward as the chicken is facing. If I were to reorient this chicken, say by dragging it to the right-hand side of the screen, and then facing it away from the camera, this exact same line of code, completely unchanged, will move the chicken forward as seen by the chicken. So whatever way is forward for the chicken is the way the object is going to move. It's not relative to the camera. If I wanted the chicken, who was let's say the chicken is facing me, if I want the chicken to turn this way, as I'm looking at it, I'm going to tell the chicken to turn to the left. But the reality is, the chicken is turning right to the chicken. In order to get the chicken to turn, I'm going to have to tell it to turn right. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and use the chicken turn command, and I'm going to tell it to turn right 1/4 revolution, or 25% of the way around a circle. Let's go ahead and move the chicken backwards so he doesn't move forward off the screen. Now, when the program is run, it will execute my first method. It will first move the chicken forward 3 meters, then it will have the chicken turn right 1/4 of a revolution as seen by the chicken. Let's click play. Chicken moves forward, and now turns right. Even though it's left on the screen, it's right to the chicken. Go ahead and move the chicken. Reposition this guy a little bit. I'm going to make him face that way. Click done. Now you'll notice there's these little pull-down menus to the right of our code that says more. Chicken move forward 3 meters more, and chicken turn right 0.25 revolutions and more. If I use that pull-down menu, I've got more options. I've got is scaled by size, as seen by, style, and duration. Don't worry about is scaled by size right now. We're not going to use that at this point. Right now, what we're going to do is add a duration. By default, every animation that you put into Alice will take 1 second to run. That means the chicken will move forward 3 meters, and it will take the chicken 1 second to move 3 meters. If I change the duration to 0.25 seconds, I'll have that argument in my line of code. The chicken is going to move forward 3 meters in 0.25 seconds. That means the chicken's going to move much faster, because instead of moving 3 meters in 1 second, he's now going to move 3 meters in 0.25 seconds. When we hit play, the chicken moves really quickly. If I want to slow the chicken down, I can change my duration to something longer. Let's say 5 seconds. This says that the chicken's still going to move forward 3 meters, but in order to move forward 3 meters, the start of the animation and the end of the animation are going to be 5 seconds apart. When I hit play, the chicken is moving much slower. It's going to take the chicken 5 seconds from when he starts moving to when he gets to the end of his 3 meter move. I can add the same argument here for the chicken and the turn command and use duration, and let's make this one 3 seconds. It'll make the turn a lot slower. Hit play, the chicken's going to move forward in 5 seconds, turn to the right in 3 seconds. It's a way of slowing down your animation so that it moves at a more realistic speed. I could also take the duration for both and set them to 0.25 seconds, and now I've got a really quick animation. One of the other options that you'll be able to select from this pull-down menu is style. We'll get more into style when we make games and animations that have more user interaction. By default, Alice should select gently. Essentially what style means is when the animation starts, it's almost unnoticeable for the animations we're doing, but gently will accelerate the chicken into its forward movement. So it will start from a 0 speed and then scale up very quickly until it's moving full speed. And then right before the animation is done, right before it gets to the 3 meters, it will slow down almost like it's putting on brakes. Abruptly will move the chicken from the moment it starts to the moment it stops at full speed. Not like brakes on a car, but almost kind of like a teleportation where there's no speed variation. It's just moving full speed until it stops instantly. What I'm interested right here now is the AsSeenBy command. To do this, let's add another object. So I'm going to add a bunny rabbit and resize the bunny a little bit, make it easier to see, and have the bunny face the camera. I'm then going to use AsSeenBy the bunny, the entire bunny, as my AsSeenBy argument for the chicken. What this is going to do is take away the egocentric property of the chicken. No longer is the chicken moving forward relative to the chicken's going to move forward relative to the bunny. Right now the bunny is facing the camera, so if I tell the chicken to move forward as seen by the bunny sees forward as a direction that kind of moves towards the camera. So when I hit play, the chicken's going to move towards the camera. Let's slow that down to 1 second so you can see it a little bit better. The chicken is now moving towards the camera. The reason the chicken is moving towards the camera is because it's moving forward as seen by the bunny, and forward to the bunny is towards the camera. Let's go ahead and drag the bunny more center, and we'll move our chicken off the screen a little bit here. I'm going to delete these two methods right here by right-clicking and clicking delete. You can also right-click and put disable. Disable will gray this out. This is a good way when you're creating animations to turn off certain animations that maybe aren't working, but that you don't want to delete, that you may want to enable later. If I right-click on this again and click enable, it will run. If I right-click and click disable, it'll kind of gray this out, and now the chicken won't move. We don't want the chicken to move because right now we're going to want the bunny rabbit to provide an example for us. I'm going to adjust the bunny so he's floating a little bit. Turn him to face the camera a little bit better. And there we go. And maybe move the camera up just a little bit so we can get a better look at this rabbit here. I want to look at the roll method. In this case, it's a bunny roll. I'm going to make sure the bunny is selected, and then take the roll command and drag it here. You'll notice this now says bunny roll instead of chicken roll. This is because we're going to tell the bunny to take an action and not the chicken. I want the bunny to roll left by half a revolution. When I run this right here, see the bunny is going to turn upside down to the left. So moving will take an object and move it up, down, left, right, forward, or backwards as seen by the object. Turn will have the object pivot on what's called a pivot point. For both the chicken and the bunny, it's centered beneath their feet. Turn will turn the object almost like you've got a can of soda on the table and you're turning it for the label to face you. Roll will take the object and turn it around the pivot point, or roll it around the pivot point, almost as if you had a can of soda on a table and you're going to dump it on its side and then turn it upside down and then keep rotating it while keeping the bottom in the exact same spot. If I were to take the bunny and tell it to move 2 revolutions, it's going to spin around twice. That might be a little bit fast, so I'm going to use my duration, change it to 3 seconds, and hit play again. The bunny is now rotating much slower than he was in the past. I'm going to re-enable my chicken code. I'm still going to have the chicken turn to the right, but I'm going to make that happen over 3 seconds as well. My command now is going to tell the chicken to turn right by 1/4 revolution, and then the bunny to roll left by 2 revolutions. Just like it did when they were all chicken commands, this is going to happen one at a time, top to bottom. The chicken's going to execute its turn method, and then the bunny is going to execute his roll method. The final method that we're going to use is the Resize method. I'm going to use both the bunny and the chicken and have them both resize in this animation. So I'm going to go ahead and add some elevation to the chicken. Otherwise he'll resize out of the bottom of the ground. So I'm going to tell the chicken to resize twice as big. And I'm going to do this over a duration of 3 seconds. Next, I'm going to select the bunny, tell the bunny to resize by 1/2, half as big, over 3 seconds. When this executes, it will work just like our resize button here in the objects panel works. It's going to make the objects bigger, scale the objects, but now it's going to be done at a later time. I can start the object at one size and then make it grow. So let's click play. Chicken's going to execute its turn, the bunny's going to execute its roll, the chicken will execute its resize command, and the bunny will execute its resize command. For this next example, I only want the chicken. I'm going to right-click on the bunny and disable both of the bunny commands. I also want the chicken to turn and face the camera instead of away. To do that, I'm going to tell the chicken to turn to the left instead of to the right. So let's make sure that works. I'm going to hit play, and the chicken turns to the right and grows. In fact, what you're seeing right here is something called incremental development. Incremental development is the idea that every time you change a little bit of code, you should run the animation or press play again to make sure that it's working, that you haven't made a mistake. The more often you run it, the quicker you'll catch bugs. If you code too much and something doesn't work, you're not going to be certain what line it is that caused your program not to work. So remember to follow the process of incremental development, just pressing play frequently. At any rate, there's some options with resize that I want to explore. In particular, it's this dimension option. Right now, it's set to all. So I can see chicken resize double its size over 3 seconds in all dimensions. Let's hit play, and you'll see the animation is the exact same that it was. When no argument for dimension is set, all is the default. I can change all to left to right. What that means is when the chicken scales, he'll only scale to the left or right. He won't get any taller. In essence, he'll just get a little bit fatter. Let's hit play. When the chicken scaled, it scaled from left to right. If I were to change this to top to bottom, when the chicken scales, the chicken will only get taller. It won't scale out to the left. And of course, front to back, the chicken will scale towards the camera and away from the camera as it's facing right now. But it won't get any taller and it won't get any fatter. That's an example of how you use the resize command. Before we wrap up the move, turn, roll, and resize methods, I just want to point out that so far we've only applied these methods to entire objects. But just like we can move only subparts, we can resize only subparts as well. I'm going to make sure that my chicken dimensions are set to all. So I'm going to have the chicken resized to twice its normal size in all directions. The chicken's going to turn to face the camera, and then it's going to grow to 3 times its normal size, or 2 times its normal size. However, I only want the chicken's head to grow. To do that, on the objects panel on the left, I'm going to hit the plus next to the chicken, the plus next to the neck, and here I can see I have the head object isolated. I'm going to take that head object and drag it to the resize command where the chicken is currently selected as the object to be impacted. The code now reads chicken.neck.head resize to twice its normal size. That says that only the head part of the chicken, which is attached to the neck part of the chicken, which is part of the chicken object, needs to resize. This will limit my resize command to only the head. So now I'm growing the head of the chicken, and the body and all the other subparts are remaining the same. I can affect any subpart in this manner. Maybe I only want the chicken's lower lip to grow. Now, chicken.neck.head.lowerlip is the object that's going to be resized, and when I play this animation, only the lower lip of the chicken is going to grow. as you apply methods to all these different objects, just remember, you can apply them to an entire object, but you can also apply them specifically to subparts. This is particularly useful when animating human characters, when you might only want to turn, roll, or move an arm or a leg, maybe creating a walking animation. Affecting subparts is a fairly common practice, and it will make your animations more realistic. That's the basics of the move, turn, roll, and resize command. When we come back for lesson 5.2, we're going to model a scene using those methods and create a small animation. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, please place them in the comments, and have a great day.